Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. My name is Gab.
My name is Gab.
I'm so glad that you didn't use that unnecessary pause to say my name is Dylan, because that would have been awkward, and what you did was funny. So good job.
Thank you.
Speaking of funny, today we are here to discuss one of my favorite movies. This is a romantic comedy that really makes me laugh until I cry every time. It makes me cry until I laugh as well. This is a movie from 2015. It stars Amy Schumer and Bill Hader, and it is called Trainwreck.
Now, before we start talking about Trainwreck and the apparent emotional swings you have while watching this movie, why are people listening to us talk about this, Gab?
Well, Dylan, you and I have some credentials, I would say. As a former actor, I am well-versed in character development, in acting, in screenplays. I'm at script analysis, but I guess they go hand in hand. And the choices that an actor makes when playing a role. How about you?
As a former video editor and guy who graduated from film school, I'm also just a pompous guy who likes movies. And what's that thing that I've been saying lately? We like movies. Yes, we do. We like movies, and we hope you do too. It's close to that or something like that. And
yeah,
I'm
this
going to
is
keep
going
that
well
going, Gab.
so far.
I'm going to keep that rhyme going.
Okay, good.
I've
I'm
decided
glad.
to make it a thing.
All right. Well, now that we have made this uncomfortable for everybody, why don't you tell the good people out here in audio land what this movie is about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
So let's talk about what Trainwreck is about. Trainwreck is about Amy Schumer playing Amy Townsend, a character who was taught from a young age that monogamy is impossible. I would say that is the simplest version of what it's about. She obviously meets somebody who makes her question if that belief is true or not.
And you watched this movie? Yes.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil anything. I was like, what's a very, very concise, simple plot summary? Do you want me to read the IMDb one now?
Yeah, please.
Having thought that monogamy was never possible, a commitment-phobic career woman may have to face her fears when she meets a good guy. Okay, I just want to say I was super close to that.
Wow, you were. Yeah. See, when I think about the movie, I don't necessarily phrase it like that, but okay.
Tagline?
Cool.
All aboard.
Oh, that's funny. And a little overtly sexual, no?
I mean, I think the whole movie's supposed to be, somewhat overtly sexual.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. So let's talk about our opinions, shall we?
Yeah, let's get into it, and let's get into what we think about this thing.
In this critic's opinion,
that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
This is, your movie. Why don't you give me some thoughts?
Yeah. So listen, obviously everybody knows that I like this movie. I chose it for a reason. I'd like to make a couple of points. Number one, the cast is absolutely top to bottom fabulous. We've got Amy Schumer, we have Bill Hader, both delivering awesome performances. John Cena, hilarious. LeBron James, surprisingly phenomenal. The SNL cast just keeps coming and coming and coming. Oh my God, why can't I think of the actor who plays her father, the comedian?
Colin Quinn.
Colin Quinn, thank you, who I've seen do stand-up at Governor's, actually. Phenomenal. Brie Larson, awesome. Just a great cast. So I really think that everyone who speaks in that movie just does a phenomenal job. Everything is delivered really, really well. It is funny as fuck. Like, there are so many moments in that movie that make me laugh out loud until I cry. Even the simple things like her trying to name the sports teams, where she's like, I like the Ohio Thunder Wizards. Like, it's just so funny. You don't look amused, and I'm becoming uncomfortable. And lastly, I think it does a really, really nice job of commenting on relationships. And this is kind of what I want to talk about a little bit more as we go. But I think that outside of the obvious, like, I'm a commitment phobe, I don't like monogamy, oh, I met somebody really great, maybe I do like monogamy. Outside of that kind of obvious storyline, there's a lot of nuance. Like, there's a lot of conversation about like emotional maturity. Your facial expression is really freaking me out. um, there's I think the biggest thing, and we can talk about this in a little bit, and I definitely want to reference you and Giselle because I think you guys are a phenomenal example of this. But I think that he is very quick to do things for her that maybe he doesn't necessarily want to do. Like go with her to Long Island to give her dad stitches, or go with her to Long Island to go to her sister's baby shower, or go with her to Long Island to
it just sounds like you hate the shit out of Long Island.
I hate Long Island. Nobody ever wants to go to Long Island. But it's a trip from where they live in Manhattan.
Yes, anytime you are going from Long Island to the city, a trip that should be like realistically can be done in 40 minutes to an hour, depending on like how far away from the city you are, unless there is no traffic, which will not happen until The Walking Dead has occurred and we have zombies. You are going to be stuck for way longer than it should take.
Yeah. And the train is inconvenient. It's uncomfortable. Like that runs on a terrible schedule. Getting to Long Island is horrible. So, that's crazy. And he does it all the time. And he just is doing these things for her, going and sitting in the nursing home with her and her dad and making him laugh and, whatever.
Staying up all night with her.
Oof.
Well, also, let's say, spoilers for this movie, obviously. So if you have not seen Trainwreck, check it out before you continue listening.
Sure.
All we've spoiled so far is that he goes to Long Island several times.
Several times. He makes the trip to Long Island. And she can't even put her phone on silent when he's accepting an award and giving a speech that he's clearly nervous about. And, I think at least for me, I think a sign of loving someone and having emotional maturity is being able to kind of do something you don't necessarily want to do if it's for them. And the reason I bring up you and Giselle is because I know Giselle is an angel and does so many things that she probably doesn't want to do, because she loves you, and she's, I think, the greatest partner that anyone can ever have. And hi, Giselle, if you're listening, and we know that you are, I love you very much.
I do things I don't want to do too.
Of course you do, but I just know, imagine Giselle deals with, a lot. We both know it.
She deals with me, alone.
Yeah, let alone everybody else.
Props to Giselle.
She's the best. But I think
I got mad love for you, Giselle.
The maddest, right? But I think watching this back kind of as an adult, or not that I wasn't an adult in 2015, but certainly an older adult, it really stood out to me, like watching her become more emotionally mature and understanding that like not everything is just like instant gratification. What do I feel like doing right now? What's going to make me happy in this moment? I want to sleep with you. I want to drink. I want to go out. I want to party. And seeing her kind of understand like the give and take of a relationship, was really nice. And I cried twice. I cried.
Now I'm very curious. What makes you cry about this movie?
Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly.
Yeah.
I cried at the funeral when she's talking about her father, and she says, raise your hand if he ever, offended you. And everyone raises their hand, including Bill Hader. And then she says, but raise your hand if he was your favorite person. And I think you and I both come from a family of people who are fucking pains in the asses, but that are inherently good and that we love and care about. And, I think when you have a partner that can love your family, even though they're crazy, because whose family isn't crazy, right? Like it's meaningful. So that's the first thing I cry at. And then the second thing I cried at was at the end when she was doing her dance, because
you cry when she's doing the dance?
Yeah, because because that's her doing something that she doesn't necessarily want to do. She's expressed that she thinks that it's dumb and that it's like, an insult to women or whatever. But, he is like, well, sports brings people together. It makes them happy. I don't know. I just think it was very sweet. It was a very nice gesture.
Okay. So
needless to say, I think that it is a modern, great romantic comedy. I think it has all of the tropes and the cliches, but done appropriately. I think Amy Schumer is a phenomenal writer. I think it's a little too long because it is a Judd Apatow movie. But I think it is generally great. So why don't you tell me with that smug look on your face why you disagree?
Gav, I'm gonna be honest, I really wanted to be like, trying not to show how you're feeling immediately. When you first told me that we were gonna do this, I had a reaction because I was like, oh, I don't know. And you were like, oh, sometimes, men don't get Amy Schumer's humor sometimes. And I will say, having watched this with Giselle, it was not I didn't get the humor. It was, I did not actually laugh once. Like, I will say, I love Judd Apatow movies. Like, I agree with you that they're often too long. And this is a very similar archetype to those films. It's obviously it's a woman instead of a man, but it's the character who starts off immature, who has to reach some level of maturity so that they can move forward in their life. It's a pretty simple story. I just did not enjoy the writing at all.
Okay.
And I feel like the thing about comedic writing is it's about action and reaction. And I feel like the best example I can think of, there's two things that come to my mind from other Judd Apatow related movies. I'm not sure if he produced the second one, but there's two things that come to my mind. There's a joke in The 4-Year-Old Virgin where I believe the character's name is Andy says, when you're feeling a breast and it feels like a bag of sand, and you just see the other people's faces and they're all like, what the fuck? And that's a quick joke, quick reaction, done. And then there's This Is the End, which I know you haven't seen, but there is a back and forth that goes on about, it's between Danny McBride and James Franco, and they're both saying, I'm going to come all over the house, which I know out of context, quite frankly, in context, it doesn't make much sense, but it goes on for a long time. And it's funny because their reactions change throughout the whole thing, from anger to disgust to rebelliousness. And what I felt like kept happening in this movie is I have the joke, then I have the continuing explanation of the joke while the reaction is exactly the same. And I found it to just be like, okay, we can move forward now. And
sure,
I'm not somebody who cares about crude or raunchy humor. I don't give I've already cursed. Why did I stop myself that time?
Yeah,
I don't care about that.
You're like, I love crudeness. I don't give a heck.
I don't give a rat's toot about curse words. You hear me? Heckin' dang it. But there were so many times where, there's a joke made. Okay, one that comes to my mind is Amy's sister's husband says to Bill Hader, don't let her around any of the athletes, because she's a whore. She might sleep around with the players. That's not a joke I make. She makes that joke. She's always saying, I'm a whore. I'm very horny.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it would have been funny if it just happened and we react to it. Instead, I'm still hearing the joke 30 seconds later, and it was not funny enough the first time for me to still be hearing it now.
Yeah.
Also, I feel so bad because you specifically pointed out that it makes you cry. I hated the funeral scene.
Tell me why.
The movie goes out of its way to do nothing but tell me that he's a bad father. Also, the movie goes out of its way to show me he's going to die. There is a scene, and I wrote it down because Giselle was like, well, write that down. That's an obvious one, because we were both like, oh, I can predict what's going to happen here. Let me see. I'm so sorry. I'm looking for my specific thing that I wrote down. Okay. Why shouldn't the orderly tell the daughter about the pain medication? Because he goes, I shouldn't be telling you this.
Yeah.
He's hiding his pain medication. He absolutely should tell her that, and she's just not addressing it at all. She never does. She doesn't tell her sister. She never has an actual conversation with her father about it. The closest she gets is she says to her father, Stephen recommended this person for pain management. No, not Stephen. Bill Hader's character recommended
Aaron.
Aaron recommended this person for pain management, and they disagree over it. The end. She basically just does nothing about, the father was obviously on a path for something bad. It would have been better if they don't include that line and then he suddenly dies.
Yeah, but don't you feel like that just lends itself to what a selfish person she is? Because I think that's important. I think that she knows, and she's so caught up in her own life and her own shit that she just doesn't even remember. I think that's very intentional.
I don't know. Again, I think it still would have shown how selfish she was if maybe we see him doing it around her. There were other ways to do it instead of just it was very much shown to me that it was going to happen in such an obvious way.
I get it. I
know we were saying
I
tropes and cliches. Obviously, when I'm 3/4 of the way through the movie and Aaron and Amy have a fight, I'm like, well, I wonder if they'll get back together by the end. You know what I mean? Of course they're going to. Which is another thing. Obviously she's supposed to have this I'm going to use the term "come to Jesus." As a
Yeah.
Jew, I feel wrong using the term, but
Come to
she's supposed to
Moses.
have this come to Moses moment where she betters herself in some way and moves forward. And I don't feel like that happened either. Like, I feel like we suddenly have a montage of her throwing out her booze, but I don't feel like she actually changes at all. It's like, it's a very brief montage to show me, like, I guess she's supposed to have changed for the long term in just the fact that she threw away her booze and pot.
Well, I don't know that it is, because I think when she dances and with the Nick City dancers, she says to him, I really want to try. And so who knows? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe she's exactly the same. Maybe she never gets any better and she dies just like her father. We don't know. But the bottom line is she's decided to try. And I think what I love about the end of that movie is that it's not wrapped up. Like, they don't get married and have kids. It's like they're just going to try.
I also want to know, the movie is named Trainwreck. Is she a train wreck because she is an alcoholic who, doesn't even understand the concept of monogamy? Or is it saying she's a train wreck because she has sex with a lot of guys? Because there's a lot of time where I'm thinking, there's nothing wrong with the fact that she has sex with multiple people. There's something wrong with the fact that she cheats on Steven. There's something wrong with the fact that she's drinking at every meal we see. Even the ones that's like in the morning and she's like, mimosa holding orange juice.
Yeah.
I was fine with the movie being, in every Judd Apatow movie, we see the men have sex with several women. We're not thinking of men as sluts or anything like that. So I found it funny that I'm fine with the idea of her, sleeping around with a bunch of guys. I don't care.
Yeah.
What I do care about is there's a moment particularly that I think of when they see the Nick City dancers, and she makes a comment about sometimes the pole's not greased up enough or something like that about one of them, which I don't feel like was a funny enough joke for the fact that it makes her seem rude to them. And it's like, in the sense that, okay, what is your point of view, Amy? Are you for, getting rid of monogamy, and you're okay with, people should be able to have as many partners as they want, or not? And then also there's a point in the movie where, again, if we're trying to say that, which reason is she a train wreck? Because it paints it again in a negative light and paints her as like, oh, it's bad that she sleeps around with multiple guys, when she and Aaron are having the conversation, which really doesn't matter. But, Aaron says he slept with 3 women. And he says, how many guys? And she goes, this year? And he goes, this year? And again, like, I get the humor in it. But again, I'm like, I don't really think that should matter. I don't think that matters in this movie. And I don't get why we're making it matter.
Well, I will say this in regards to the stripper pole comment. I think it's brilliant. I think it's very nuanced, because I think a lot of women will behave in one way and then like look at a girl who's like more attractive, like there's so much insecurity in her.
Yes, and that's a fair point. It's also, you could just say that it's supposed to show how insecure she is about other women and Aaron being anywhere near them.
Exactly. Yeah, and her making her, and the other thing is, like, what I love about this character is that she's got a great job. She's very smart. She clearly earns a decent living. She's doing well at work, up until the end. And yet she's irresponsible. She's missing work because she's oversleeping at some guy's apartment in Staten Island. Like it's why is she a train wreck? She's a train wreck for a million reasons. She's a train wreck because she's working at a job and writing articles that are smut. And she's smart enough to write, she, at the end, she sells her article to Vogue.
Yes, which again, it's like, I wish they had spent a little more time on the job, because I do feel like the job is just there. The job is sort of an afterthought after a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like at some point she's been working on the article for 6 weeks at least. She's been with Aaron, and then they scrap it, and then she doesn't tell Aaron, and it has to have been at least a couple more weeks. So we're talking at least 2 months. And she is still, that's the only thing she's working on. And I'm like, I've never written for a magazine or anything like that. I don't know if that's how it works, but I was like, what? Also, they keep talking about, they want you for the promotion, but you got to be able to handle their loads. I can handle all their loads. And I'm like, haha, semen. I get that. But it was, what is the promotion? Why does she want it? Why does she care about her job or doesn't she? Because in my IMDb plot summary, it calls her a commitment phobic career woman. And she doesn't seem committed to her career either. She seems to not really give a shit about anything, which is like, again, maybe that's the reason she's a train wreck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think like you can be committed to your career and want more and want a promotion and want to do well, and also like find yourself wrapped up in something going on in your personal life and totally fucking miss, I know people who love their job and love what they do and show up 10 minutes late to work every single day. And it's like, I just think I think it would have been so much more boring if it were so cut and dry. And I think this character, like, I feel like I've been this character before, and I know parts of the, obviously not to the extreme, but like, I know that feeling of like, I know I'm fucking up by getting too drunk and not setting an alarm. And I love my job and I really want this promotion, but I fucking didn't think about it last night when I, whatever. I don't know. I think there's so much nuance and realism in like those things.
Also, it's probably just a joke I didn't like, but she makes a joke about flushing a tampon, to which I was like, you can't flush a tampon. And
yes, you can.
You absolutely should not.
Yes, you can. It says it on the box. System. It says on the box, safe to flush. Go get a box of tampons right now.
We Googled it, Gab. We Googled it because we were like, you should not be flushing tampons. It is bad for sewage.
I flush tampons once a month.
You're going to ruin your toilet.
No, I've had so many toilets and no problems.
You're going to ruin an entire building's toilets. You're a monster.
I'm telling you, you can flush them.
No.
You can.
You absolutely shan't.
Oh my God. So no, what the fuck else do you do with them? You got to just flush them.
I'm telling you, it's not good. You can't do that. Okay. It's not important. It's not important. Oh my God. I found my favorite scenes, which is a low bar because, again, even my favorite scenes were like, huh.
I just want to say, too, I told you Corey doesn't like Trainwreck, and he was like, I want to watch this with you, even though I don't like, I'm not Trainwreck, Amy Schumer. He's like, I want to watch this with you, even though I don't think I'm going to like it, because I want to be able to understand when I listen to the podcast, which I thought was very nice. And he liked it. He was like, this is way funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Giselle watched this with me in spite of her better judgment, and we both sat there silently the entire time.
I'm shocked.
And by the end, we were like, so hard. How does this? It felt like it was 3 hours long. Giselle had me write down because she laughed at me saying it. I went, this movie put me in a bad mood. And she was like, write that down.
Shocked. All right, whatever.
I felt the entire time, I was like, I want to laugh too. I like comedy. Please, movie. I would like to laugh along with the people who are laughing. And I just couldn't do it. And then I read reviews after this movie and I just couldn't understand what I was missing that nobody else was missing. Like, I was like, I felt like Principal Skinner. Am I wrong? No, it's everyone else who's wrong. Like, thank God Giselle was there to also not find it funny, because otherwise I would have thought like, I have to be a crazy person.
Wow. I'm so surprised because I really thought I was a shoo-in when Corey was like, wow, I really liked this.
I did also find it funny. I feel like this movie is filled with things that are like, shouldn't be talking about that in pop culture now.
Yeah.
The Johnny Depp thing where they're like, Johnny Depp is so sexy. And I'm like, Johnny Depp, not really in right now.
Yeah, that was that was also kind of a long, unnecessary scene. And I was like, no women do that. No one sits on the toilet with their underwear around their ankles talking to someone for that long.
I have been even with my closest friends, if we're in the bathroom together, we're maybe saying 2 sentences to each other. I've never had a full-blown conversation in the bathroom with another person.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That is my time. Reclaiming my time.
It was also just like, what are you doing? Like, you're both just sitting there? Like,
not only that, the Where Are They Now for the Michael Jackson Settlement Kids. I was like, that's just stupid.
Well, but that's the point. That magazine is supposed to be garbage.
Yeah, the magazine smut. Ezra Miller, just in general.
Oh my God.
Just the fact that they are in this. And what was the last one? Oh, it's LeBron quoting Kanye West. I was like, oh, how little we do.
I mean, listen, movies are gonna age. What are you gonna do?
Oh, it was not at all their fault, especially on like Johnny Depp and Kanye West, I just was like, what are the odds?
Did you think LeBron was awesome?
I thought LeBron was funny. I didn't think that like he didn't do a good job acting it. You know what I mean? But it was like, oh no, this is funny enough. And what I did find out, and I guess I should save this for the facts, but I'm going to say it now. Chris Rock was apparently on the set when LeBron James scenes were filmed and came up with several of the lines that James says in the film.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought that was interesting. And I was like, no wonder I found that funnier because it was not written by Amy Schumer.
That's so funny. Oh my God. I can't. I'm honestly surprised.
I did love, though. I should say love. I liked more than not feeling anything when LeBron is riffing about Cleveland and he says to Aaron, you visited me in Miami all the time. And he goes, well, that's Miami. He's like, you keep mentioning Cleveland to me. I don't want to go to Cleveland. Nobody wants to go to Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know, it was another thing that I thought would have been better. And I guess it works narratively in the sense that she insulted the cheerleaders. But what I thought was going to happen, and it would have made this movie a little bit shorter, instead of the intervention scene, which is not funny, and it includes a couple of cameos, but you know, maybe if like any one of those characters besides LeBron had appeared earlier in the movie and we knew that they knew Aaron, it would have been better. I thought LeBron was staging that he was hurt because Amy had like convinced him to get Aaron down there to see her. And LeBron was going to like mend things between them.
Yeah. See, I read something online that said that scene would have been cut, but it was kept in because those famous people gave their time. And it was such a short scene that it was like, how are you gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And like, you know, Matthew Broderick and Chris Everett and Marv Albert are all trying their darndest, you know, and Marv Albert's got his classic Marv Albert voice where he's, you know, Aaron unable to deal with the whatever, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah. But again, the whole time I'm like, why is Chris Everett hitting on him? Well, the closest it came to being funny was when Matthew Broderick makes the joke. Aaron says something like, oh, what? We can't all just, you know, marry one of the stars of Sex and the City. And I think Matthew Broderick says, why not? And he goes, well, obviously that's what you did, Matthew. And he goes, yeah, but there were 3 other women on that show. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, that's a little funny, you know? I just felt the entire time, I really felt like, to reference Mugatu and Zoolander, I feel like I'm on crazy pills here. Because like I said, I was like, I know how hard it's trying to be funny. And I know that there are people in this who are capable of being funny. But I just felt like I had every joke over-explained to me. I just felt bad for the people who are good actors because people like Bill Hader and Brie Larson are acting with LeBron James and Amy Schumer, there's literally a shot in this movie that I rewound it to re-show Giselle where I was like, why did they not cut this 15 seconds sooner? It's her starting to cry when Aaron leaves. She starts to cry, pauses, blank expression, starts to cry, pauses, nothing on her face. And maybe I'm like wrong about the exact pattern that happens there, but it was like, this looks like it was multiple takes and we just left it in. Like, it looks like it looks like she's literally restarting and she's like, when we give that another try, sob, you know, and I'm like, why? And is it just the fact that Judd Apatow likes to keep it long? Like, you know, I really like Judd Apatow movies, but like even Judd Apatow would be like, yeah, it's, you know, I'd probably make every movie at least 10 minutes longer than it should be.
Wow. Interesting. I don't remember that, you know, but I also don't remember the conversation with Matthew Broderick saying there were 3 other women. Like, I wonder if you watched a director's cut.
I don't think I did.
I would double check.
Do you know the length of the movie you watched?
It was like, oh man, I don't remember. It was maybe 2 hours and 5 minutes.
2 hours and 8 minutes. So I think we probably watched the same thing.
Okay, maybe I just missed that. Interesting. All right. Well, I mean, I really wanted to talk about how he did things for her, but I guess what's the fucking point? No,
I feel
the
so
point,
badly.
Dylan?
I literally said afterwards,
okay,
I would literally rewatch the Lizzie McGuire movie over this.
That I do not believe. That I don't believe.
I laughed more at the Lizzie McGuire movie, quite frankly.
Jesus Christ.
I will remember for a far longer period of time, Sing to me, Palo, than I will anything from this movie.
All right. I get it. Listen, it got me. It's my sense of humor.
You know what I thought was going to be funny?
What?
they have like a fake movie within the movie, which a lot of the times like that stuff's great. Like,
Yeah, with
have you
Daniel
seen Tropic
Radcliffe and
Thunder?
Marissa Tomei. Yes, also that's on my list.
The best part of Tropic Thunder is probably the fake commercials at the beginning.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I love stuff
Yeah.
like that. So when they see the dog walker with Daniel Radcliffe and Marissa Tomei, I'm like, oh, maybe this will be fun. And it was not. It was just like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna walk him. And I'm like, what am I supposed to laugh at?
Did you?
What was
well,
I
I
supposed
didn't
to
think it was
laugh?
funny either. Did you think the John Cena stuff was funny, where he's clearly gay?
Again, it just felt like it was very over the top obvious.
Okay, all right.
You know
all
what I
right.
mean? Like it was like the least common denominator version of the joke.
Yeah.
Like instead of I'm gonna beat you up, I'm gonna beat you off. Like, oh, you know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
maybe if the movie had gotten to a better point by then, maybe I'm more accepting of things. But it was like it just kept, you know, you lose your momentum when you keep missing shots, right? Like if LeBron James misses 23 pointers in a row, once he makes a 2-pointer, I'm still gonna be like, well, he sucks right now.
Yeah. No, I get it.
John
Yeah,
Cena, though, I would have liked to have seen what happened to his character because I just felt really bad for him. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
she's just awful, and he's like the nicest person.
He's so sweet. All right. Well, listen. I mean, we have a couple other segments left. Fuck me. Let's just whatever.
Let's get to some god dang facts.
All right. Here we go.
I want the truth.
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
All right, so I guess we should start with ratings, which, you know, baffle me. Let's start with IMDb, which gave this a 6.2 out of 10, which is closer to what I would have given it. Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter, gives it an 84%, an average rating of 7.3 out of 10. 244 fresh reviews to 47 rotten. Audience score, 66%, average score of 3.5 out of 5. As far as box off, critics' consensus. Trainwreck drags commitment out of all but the most rom-com phobic filmgoers with sharp humor, relatable characters, and hilarious work from Amy Schumer.
Yeah, bitch.
As far as box office goes, this movie had a $35 million budget and grossed $141 million worldwide. This was nominated at the 2016 Golden Globes for Best Comedy and Best Screenplay, both of which baffle me.
Well, maybe you're just dumb.
Written by Amy Schumer, who also wrote for Inside Amy Schumer and several stand-up specials, stars Amy Schumer, Emmy Award winner Bill Hader from the TV show Barry and Saturday Night Live, Academy Award winner Brie Larson from Room, obviously LeBron James, the basketball player, one of the greatest ever, John Cena from the Suicide Squad, Blockers, Peacemaker, and along with like 1,000 other people you've heard of. Like every single person who appears in this was famous practically.
Yeah.
A bunch of people from SNL, but I'll get to more of those. So should I go to reviews first or some like behind the scenes facts first?
Reviews first.
What do you feel? Okay. Charlie Schmidlin from the playlist. I hope I said that right. Schmidlin. That feels weird. Trainwreck allows a new development and angle to Apatow's trademark anxieties through a unique point of view and is one of his most hilarious and finely tuned films to date. Fred Topel from Guff.com. Amy Schumer is the total package. She's hilarious, and you're going to miss a lot of jokes because you're still laughing at the ones before it. She's likable, even at her character's most irresponsible behavior. She's also really touching in dramatic scenes. I feel like I'm on crazy pills. That was not in the review.
You are. This
Borders.
is a good movie. And you know what? I'm tired of you pulling me
Meredith
around.
Borders.
I'm standing up for myself.
Death. You've seen this movie, but Trainwreck still manages to surprise in how profoundly funny it is, and in the wonderful realism and recognizability of Amy's character. Yeah. Anthony Lane from The New Yorker. So much for the promise of this title. Trainwreck sticks to the rails. Finally, somebody who said something I can agree with you. Andrew O'Hare from Salon.com. Trainwreck is not very good, but Schumer is frequently amazing in it. Officially, her fans will not be disappointed. Not far below the surface, it's a bummer. David Kaplan from Kaplan vs. Kaplan. It's fair to say that Schumer's first major entree, which I feel like it's supposed to be foray. I don't know if that's if it's spell checked it when I did it or like on Rotten Tomatoes, into feature films will project her into major star status far greater than any tenure she might sustain on Comedy Central. It did not do that. Elliot Noble from Sky Cinema. For every LOL moment in Trainwreck, and there are plenty, there are 3 that thud harder than an old comic keeling over on stage.
All right, I've had enough.
Nick Dent from the Daily Telegraph. Last one. Trainwreck is not the disaster its name implies, but inside Amy Schumer, there must be a better movie than this.
Ha ha ha.
Oh, I didn't read the featured review. I'll just read the headline. 7 out of 10, a film that Amy Schumer fans will enjoy.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay. Very few facts. Obviously, I said the Chris Rock thing. In an August 2015 interview with the London Telegraph, Norman Lloyd, who was the other retiree that we saw at the, assisted living
Love him.
facility,
I thought he was hilarious.
he was 100 years old at the begin 100 years old when the movie was filmed. Said that he had never before appeared in anything containing that level of raunchy humor, and it was surprising to his family. My daughter, who's 76, walked out of the picture. She wrote me a letter. It's not the kind of picture I thought I'd see you in, Dad.
Wow, old people. That's
the first
crazy.
film by Judd Apatow not to be written by him, only directed. LeBron filmed all of his scenes in 1 week. Bill Hader lost 20 pounds for this movie, which just surprised me. I was like, really?
Interesting.
Includes 6 actors who worked on Saturday Night Live: Bill Hader, Vanessa Bayard, Pete Davidson, Leslie Jones, Tim Meadows, and Colin Quinn. 3 Academy Award winners: Brie Larson, Tilda Swinton, and Marissa Tomei.
Tilda Swinton is so good in this movie.
She's never looked weirder.
I know.
I was like, that's Tilda Swinton. And includes a bunch of people from the MCU. Brie Larson, who's Captain Marvel, Tilda Swinton, who's the ancient one from Doctor Strange, Marissa Tomei, who was Aunt May, Randall Park, who was in Ant-Man and the Wasp and WandaVision as Agent Wu. I think that's it. Yeah. And Amy Schumer spent 2 months practicing with a cheerleading squad for her climactic dance number, which I believe because it looks like she's purposefully not trying at times or purposely trying to be worse than she is.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to look like she did it in like the day before or something.
Well, the way the movie painted it, I thought she was like leaving to see him at the game at the last second after seeing him on TV. So I was very surprised when it turns out she has something planned. And even more so, like I was like, just show her on the way calling the cheerleader who she made their messy comments to and be like, I just need one favor. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Because I was just like, it felt out of nowhere to me. I don't know. Maybe that's
it's a little. It's definitely out of nowhere. It's one of those things where like you kind of suspend your disbelief and you're like, oh, look, she did it. Because I also, like I said, I hadn't seen this movie since 2015, so I remembered her doing the dance, obviously, but she was racing to get to MSG, and I was like, whoa.
And why is she racing if she has this prepared? You know what I mean?
Unless she's just late, because she's always late to shit.
Because she still sucks at the end of this movie. Okay.
Yeah, because whatever.
Should we get to our verdicts, Gab?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat, though.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence is death. Do you think this is a movie to watch before you die, Gab?
I gotta tell you, I do. I think it's such a modern rom-com. I've recently watched Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally, and I just think this is such a good, like, more modern take on that genre. So yeah, I do, but whatever.
I haven't seen Sleepless in Seattle. I remember you mentioned this movie when we talked about Miscongeniality, and you also just compared this to When Harry Met Sally. And I think both of those comparisons are crazy.
Wow.
Is Miscongeniality like the best written movie in the world? No. I find it so much funnier than this. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's a comedy that didn't make me laugh.
All right. Well, I so far I have asked you to watch The Birdcage. I've asked you to watch this. I've asked you to watch, what's another comedy?
The Birdcage did make me laugh. Like, I'll give the Birdcage did a lot better than this did.
Yeah, well, whatever. Listen, I get it. It's not for you. I really didn't think Corey was going to like it based on like very similar things. He surprised me. I thought maybe there was some hope. I feel bad that Giselle, I hope you guys had a little bit of fun. I hope Giselle knows that I said those nice things about her before I knew she watched this movie and hated it.
There was a lot of tension, Gab. There was just tension in the room afterwards because you're both so angry. No.
God, I'm so sorry. But yeah, what can you do? I think it's good. You don't like it. Well, there's always next week.
If you want to send us a voice message, you can at anchor.fm/movies-to-watch, or you can send us an email at
movies-to-watch-before-you-die@gmail.com.
Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully you enjoyed this movie because I didn't.
Let us know in an email or a voice message. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Why are you trying to always sell me on Cleveland?
When are you going to come to Cleveland?
I'll come when I have the time. I just don't have the time right now. I'll come when I have the time. I've just been really busy.
You visit me in Miami all the time.
Yeah, but that's Miami.
What's the difference between Miami and Cleveland? It's the same.
You're right, it's the same.